So think about it this way. So you're in a city, and the city has parts of it that degenerate. And so you could think about that as order degenerating into chaos. And then the open people who are creative come along and they find places in the city that have degenerated but that still have interesting potential, right? And then they move in there where it's cheap too, and they start producing art, they start producing galleries, and then the coffee shops move in, and then the thing starts to get civilized. And then of course the more liberal conservative types move in. Those would be the yuppies, roughly speaking. So they're much more conservative than the artists, but they're still liberal compared to the bulk of the population. And so the more daring people move in after the artists have civilized it. And then after that, then the chain stores start to move in, and soon it's completely turned into Zellers or something like that. And then the artists have to go somewhere else and find another place on the boundary where they can live. And it's a physical boundary as much as a mental boundary. And so because you think each of those personality traits, there's 5 dimensions, each of them represent the possibility of inhabiting a kind of niche, right? An ecological niche. So if you're an extroverted person, your niche is the social environment. If you're an introverted person, the niche is, I think, nature. I don't know that for sure, because I've never figured out exactly what introverts are adapted to, but it's not exactly the social world. If you're agreeable, then your niche is relationships. If you're disagreeable, your niche is competition. If you're conscientious, your niche is duty and effort. And so, those niches are partly social because so much of our environment is social, but they're also partly natural because our social being is nested inside the natural world. And so you can think about the big 5 traits as different kinds of adaptations to different kinds of niches. And that's the niche that the open people, the open exploratory types occupy. So that seems to make a higher order super factor, extroversion and openness, called plasticity, as opposed to stability, which is conscientiousness, agreeableness, and emotional stability. And there's a playoff between those two things, because the stable people obviously are stable, but the plastic types of people are more dynamic, and they're more concerned with transformation. And in order to get a system optimally stable and dynamic, you have to have a continual interplay of those factors. Because static doesn't work because everything changes. That's the problem with conservatism. And the problem with liberalism fundamentally is, yes, everything changes, but you have to bring forward some structures from the past. So it's very, very difficult to get that balance correct. So